and welcome back to Learning New Testament Greek. And today we're going to try our hand at another Greek sentence. First of all, let's read it. Ha, theos, krine, tous, huios, see the rough breathing mark, anthropon. Notice I missed something. That should have a smooth breathing mark on it, anthropon. So, ha, theos, krine, tous, huios, anthropon. Alright, so what's our first step? First step, we're going to parse all the words. So let me leave a little room under the sentence to make notes. So, ha. Alright, what part of speech is ha? It is a definite article. I'm going to abbreviate substantially in this so we can get a little flow going. Alright, definite article. And what is its gender? Gender is masculine. Its number? Ha, is it singular or plural? It is singular. And its case. Ha is the nominative case. Now we need its lexical form. Remember, lexical form is the form you look up in the lexicon. And for nouns and definite articles along with adjectives, you'll look at the nominative singular. And the nominative singular of ha is ha. Now for articles, sometimes I'll also list he and ta as well, but not always. But this makes it known that it is a article. Anyway, translation. How do you translate ha? The. And typically I will use the translation of my parsing out of context, just the root meaning of the word, not in relation to other words. Alright, next word. Theos. Theos? What part of speech is theos? It is a noun. It is masculine. Os is a singular ending. I'm abbreviating even more now. And the case is nominative. And what is the lexical form of theos? That's correct, it is theos. Theos. And what does theos mean? It means God. Now it could mean God or it could mean God. And you'll have to determine the context of the verse or passage you're working with, whether the speaker's talking about the God of the Bible or the gods of the people like Zeus or Jupiter or one of those. That'll come from context. Okay, let's see. Our next word, krine. 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 What part of the speech is krine? It is a verb. Very good. Alright. Now for verbs, we need tense, mood, or tense, voice, mood, person, number, lexical form, then translation. Okay. So what is its tense? It's probably going to be present, because that's the only tense you've been taught so far. It's probably going to be active voice, because again, that's the only tense or voice you know, and the mood is going to be indicative. Again, because that's all you know. So, and we might use a verb here with forms you're unfamiliar, but I'll let you know, and we'll talk about those when we get to them. All right, let's see. We need to figure out what person it is. Person. Is it a first person or a second person or a third person? Well, what are your verb endings of present active indicative? Remember, you have o, ace, a, amen, eta, usi, and a is third person singular. So it is going to be a third person singular. Its lexical form, remember verbs take their lexical form in the present active indicative, first person singular. There are a few exceptions to that, but again, we'll get to those when we get to them. Alright, so krino is going to be the lexical form of krine. And translation. What does it mean, krino? Well, when one krinos, one judges. To judge, I guess. Literally, it's going to be he judges. But again, in the parsing, I'll oft leave it as the word out of context and without its form. But you could, he judges, or he is judging, or something along those lines. Alright, next up. Tous. Tous? What is it? What part of speech? That's right. Another direct article. Definite article. I'll get it right eventually. Alright, what do we need? We need its gender, its number, and its case. What's the gender of tous? We don't know. It could either be masculine or neuter. When I parse and I'm unsure of a word, I like to record both. Then I'll go back out and I'll cross out the wrong answer. If I've ruled something out, I'll go back and cross it out. So it's either going to be masculine or neuter. But we can figure out its number. Is it singular or plural? That's right, it's plural. Plural. And its case. We need to know its case. Tous. Tous is accusative. And that brings us back to the what gender is it? Well, if you recall, the articles, the us ending is masculine, not neuter. And that's why things slip my mind as well. That if I'm unsure of something, even though it might be plain, I'll put in both and scratch one out. Because I can be going along and remember, hey, wait a minute. The accusative in the masculine is different than the accusative in the neuter. If it were neuter, it would be ta. So I tend to add more information than I need, and I go in and I scratch out or erase. You can't erase with a marker, so erase or scratch out your extra options. I like to write them down to keep them in mind, so when you do something like this and say, wait a minute, it can't be neuter, it has to be masculine because of the ending, you can go back and say, oh, it has to be masculine. Alright. And its lexical form, now that we've talked about that, it's going to be ha, he, or ta. And it means the. Typically, I'll put the translation in quotation marks, but I guess you don't have to. Alright. Huius. Huius is our next word. And recall that the breathing mark goes on the second letter of a diphthong. So the diphthong hui, or we, the rough breather makes it hui. Alright. Hui. Huius. Huius. What part of speech is huius? It is a noun. Alright, now what do we need for nouns? We need the gender, number, case, lexical form, and translations. Gender is going to be masculine because we just talked about the us ending. So it is masculine. Number, it's plural because this is one of those times when you say, hey, the article immediately in front of it, in fact, even though it has the same ending, so it's going to modify. So tous is going to modify huius, but we'll get to that in a minute. But recall, when a definite article modifies a noun, it must agree in gender, number, and case. So that means the gender, the number, and the case have to be the same. So huius is an accusative, and what's its lexical form? What word do we get huius from? Or from what word do we get huius? We get it from huios. Huios. And what's huios mean? Well, a huios is a son. But this is huios, so we're going to say sons. Okay. Our last word to parse here. Anthropone. Don't want to forget my breathing mark. Again. Anthropone. Anthropone. What part of speech is anthropone? That's right, it is a noun. And what do we need for nouns? We need gender, number, case, lexical form, and then a translation. So its gender is anthropon, the own ending. Well, that could be anything, because all the nouns you've learned so far, own is the well, we're going to skip gender for the moment. We're going to say, well, what is it? It is a plural, ablative, or it's a plural genitive. So we're going to have to figure out which one of those it is, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But again, I like to write both my options down, and once I rule one out, then I'll mark out the other, or erase if you're using a pencil, which I highly recommend. Alright, so we don't know what gender it is, because this ending can take either ablative or genitive plural, and can be in the masculine or neuter. Actually, even the feminines use this ending, but we'll get there as well. Alright, so anthropon. So we have the number and case. Still looking at the gender, but the next thing we're going to look up will tell us the gender, the lexical form. If you're going to look up anthropon in the lexicon, what word does it come from? And you can go look up in your vocabulary. You'll find it comes from anthropos. And that, from there, we can tell it is a masculine noun. Because anthropos, os is a masculine ending. Also, if you look up in the lexicon, you would see anthropos, comma, ha, telling you, of course, it's masculine. You can't always trust the ending, because there's a couple words that look one way, but they aren't what you think they should be. Alright, and what does anthropos mean? Anthropos means man, except in this case it's going to be men because it's plural. Men. Alright, and we'll talk about the cases here in just a moment. Okay, so we have our words parsed so we could have a general idea what all these words are. So now we need to figure out how they work with each other. First off, we need to find the main verb. So did we have a verb in here? Let's see, a direct, definite article, a noun, a verb. So we got our verb. Recall, I'm going to double underline verb, so crine. Now we need to find our subject of our verb. Well, verbs have to agree with their subjects in person and number. Remember that? So it's a third person, so it can't be a pronoun like I or you or something of that nature. So that rules out any I's and U's, but fortunately we don't have any, so we don't have to worry about that. But it's third person, so it could be a noun like karpos or something of that nature. And recall, what case does the subject usually come in? Let's write the nominative. Do we have any nominatives in here? Let's see. Here's a nominative. Ha is a nominative. Theos is a nominative. Verbs don't have case. Tous is accusative. Huios is accusative. And anthropon is either ablative or genitive. So we have our nominatives. It can be ha or theos. And ha is modifying theos, so it can't really be the subject. So the subject is theos. So our kernel clause is going to be, well, my finger's covering it, theos krine, God judges. But we're going to say the modifier, the God judges. The God judges. Well, what does the God judge? Well, we're going to look for something called the direct object. Recall the direct object, which I'm going to mark as DO. Direct objects will usually, but not always, come in the accusative case. Direct objects, most of the time, you're going to find in the accusative case. Do we have any accusatives? Let's see, nominative, verb. Oh, we have a couple accusatives. And again, we have a definite article agreeing with a noun, so that means this definite article will probably be modifying that noun because it agrees with it and it's in close proximity. I'm going to get rid of ta there. So it's probably the huios, and huios is going to be our direct object. huios. So the god judges the sons. Called sons. Now, in your parsing, it's probably also a good idea to write down what the function of the word. Subject. Verb is the main verb. Direct object. And ha, if you wanted to write down the function of ha, we would say it modifies theos, and tous modifies huios. This is a good exercise to write down the function, because when you're writing, you're learning. And writing this down kind of helps you put it all on paper, so when you come back to it, say, I understand now. But, okay. Let's see. Direct object. So, the god judges the sons. Well, what is anthropone doing over here? Anthropone. Well, anthropone is either an ablative or a genitive. And ablatives and genitives typically describe or tell the source or separation of. They usually modify another word. Typically. Almost kind of adjectively. But they aren't quite adjectives. Well, they aren't adjectives, they're nouns. But we'll talk more about that when we get adjectives. So, it's going to be either an ablative or a genitive. The easiest way to tell whether it's an ablative or genitive is by use of the helper prepositions. Remember the helper prepositions when we went over the cases? Right, what were they? Ablative is from, and genitive is of. And they can help us determine the meaning of the word, because in English these cases we don't have cases like this in English, so we have to use these helper prepositions. So let's see. We're going to say the god I'm going to use capital God here because since I was the author of this sentence, I get to choose what type of God it is. I'm going to say it is our God, the God of the Bible. The God judges. The sons. Sons there should not be capitalized, but I capitalized it anyway. Alright, so I'll just scratch all that out. And sons. Blank. Men. Alright. So I left a blank here to test out our helper preposition. So what's our first one? It could be ablative. We could say the sons from men, or we can say the sons of men. So the God judges the sons from men. I guess that kind of makes sense, because the sons in a general sense are from men, but of makes better sense. The sons of men. Oftentimes you'll find that the genitive is used when verbs of relation. You recall the genealogies and the Gospels, and David, who was the son of Jesse, who was the son of Obed, and all that. Typically, all those are genitive constructions, because genitives are used much of the time when a family relationship is established in the scripture. A genitive construction is used. So whenever you say huios, and a word that could be genitive or ablative, it's probably going to be genitive because it's going to tell a relationship, but not always. But in this case, it is a genitive, because they aren't the sons from men, but they are the sons of men. So this is this genitive, its function for the time being, we're going to say it modifies yes. Yeah, almost drew my breathing mark wrong. We'll get to a point where this won't be enough, the good enough answer, but for right now, this is what we need. It's the genitives modifying huios, telling them what kind of sons they are. What's the attributed these sons? Well, these aren't sons of cows or sons of sheep. These are sons of men. So, ha theos krine tous huios anthropon. The God judges the sons of men. All right. Were you able to follow that and get your parsing sheet done? I hope so. If not, go ahead and give it another watch, give it another try. Here, even write out the sentence and try on your own, then come back. But next time we're going to be going over the vocabulary. Then after that, we're going to delve into the exercises for chapter 7. I think we're in chapter 7. But we're going to delve into those exercises, and we're going to have more of this, except you're going to try them before we talk about it. All right, vocabulary next time, and I hope to see you then.